Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's your boy 6MK live here for a surprise pop up for the next 15-20 minutes. I just want to go ahead and get everybody's mindset ready for the final 53 for the Atlanta Falcons to be coming up here after Tuesday. Once again, the final cuts for the Atlanta Falcons will be on Tuesday. If, like I said, just get my information right. Um, so I pretty much want to just treat this as a Q&A portion, a Q&A show for the next 25 minutes. Before Coach goes live with his with the fantasy football live draft. Um, as we already know, the Atlanta Falcons preseason is over with. It is over with. So it's time for them to start trimming down the fat. And as we already know, just from the first 12 cuts the news that I heard yesterday, definitely shout out to not just Mad Mike Sports, but Jude Talk Sports for putting the information out on 12 cuts that happened. And one of the most notable names on there was your boy Morgan Fox. So that doesn't surprise me. Keyshawn, what's going on, man? What's going on? And and since we got Keyshawn Vlad in here, I want to definitely also give a shout out to him because he is a article writer, putting out articles about not just Atlanta Falcons, but Atlanta sports in general. So you go ahead and follow Keyshawn Vlad on X. I'll go ahead and talk about one of his takes is as far as the final 53 in itself is. I thinking, and this is me talking, K Styles or Kev, whichever one y'all want to go with. I think pretty much the like I pretty much think the majority of the roster is already in conclusion as far as the running back room, the quarterback room, the wide receiver room, the O line, such and such and such. If you hadn't checked out Coach Unchained, he pretty much put a breakdown on the predictions of what the 53 is going to look like. Like I said, this right here is just a Q&A. So, like I said, once you get in here, if you're new to the channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's go ahead and share this. So I'm pretty much don't have much to talk about. I just wanted to do a Q&A portion of this show before we hit this fantasy football draft show with Coach Unchained. Because your boy K Styles is doing fantasy football with them Falcon guys. Um, as you already know. Kev, aka Autoboto's Revenge, is looking to take the crown this year. Um, Georgia, Texas boy. First question of the day is: what are your thoughts on the starting defense for the Atlanta Falcons? The starting defense on the Atlanta Falcons, I think, pretty much is going to be intact. Like you said, you're going to get a couple new faces. Rook Ororo. Like I said, Rook Ororo, Divine Diablo, and I'm saying possibly Jordan Fuller. This is my prediction, maybe three of the newest starters on the defense. But as far as defensive wise for me, is they're like I said, they're looking to be more on the athletic side. Um, kind of being the opposite of what they was last year, where you did have a lot of the downhill guys, but you didn't have guys, especially in that linebacker room, who were versatile enough to be in that cover spacing. Um, like I said, I will say, Divine Diablo to me personally is going to be the biggest difference between what this defense was last year and what this defense could be this year. For the simple fact that the versatility of him being, like I said, being a safety converted linebacker guy and being a guy that's being able to cover, it will definitely it'll definitely change a lot of prospects for the Atlanta Falcons. Um, like you said, Billy Bowman, Xavier Watts, these are two rookies, safety slash nickel corner guys who have ball hawk skills. Um, I don't really see them over. I don't see them overtaking D Alford at that nickel corner position, because really, if you really look at D Alford last year, really the worst game that he had was against the Minnesota Vikings. That was the worst game he had. But if you really look at him last year, he really didn't have a bad season. And like you said, he's also a guy who is a veteran and a guy that can be trusted, because for the simple fact that I think he was ranked third. No, he might have been fourth on the team in tackles last year. Um, so I don't really see too much of a major change defensively. Appreciate that question. Keyshawn Vlad here says, I think we're going to carry 7 wide receivers. Um, I don't think so. Because if you carry 7 wide, my opinion, if you carry 7 wide receivers, in which the average NFL team is about, that's one more than what the average NFL team would do, especially a passing offense. I think if they carry 7 wide receivers, that means that defensively wise, you got one or two players that's going to have to be gone. Nick Nash making the team, I don't know, because even though I like Nick Nash a lot, if you're going just based off of the preseason production, you're essentially, you didn't really see much of a Nick Nash. You saw a couple plays, but you really, Chris Blair was the highlight of the wide receiver room for the Atlanta Falcons in the preseason. Falcon 4L said cut Taquan Graham. I don't think that's going to be possible, because like I said, if you look at the defensive line depth chart that they released at the beginning of the preseason, um, Taquan Graham, I can see where you're talking about with him, because he stayed hurt, and it's some big play inconsistencies there. But as a guy who is a versatile D tackle slash defensive end, just like Zach Harrison, they're going to want to keep those two guys, because you want to keep some fresh bodies. And Taquan Graham is a guy, they like I said, he may not have much more of a future with the Falcons after this season. They're just going to use him for as much as possible. But as kind of like a defensive tackle type of guy, like I said, it came in small spurts in the first game or two, but he done slimmed down. He done quickened up, and I could see him making the team. Um, do Jamal Agnew make the 53 as a wide receiver strictly special teams? It'll most likely be special. It'll be both wide receiver and special team. But those don't know Jamal Agnew is also he also has experience at running back. So he's pretty much a joker player. But we haven't really seen too much of Jamal Agnew in the preseason either. They've had D Alford, they've had Natron Brooks returning kicks and stuff like that. So I don't really think Jamal Agnew's job is really safe neither. D Coleman, what's going on, man? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Like I said, this live really doesn't have any structure to it. I just want to go live. Yeah, because I want to definitely give a shout out to the Atlanta Falcon fans before the season starts. Um, CJ Henderson made a compelling argument to be on the team the last couple of days. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting part because I know he's been doing well in the practices and stuff like that as well. And the thing is with this team is you still need more veteran leadership. You need more veteran players on this team. And I know CJ Henderson is not necessarily the greatest corner as far as what our expectations are. He's actually considered a bust. Because if we look at the corner room, we already know AJ Terrell. We already know Mike Hughes. Those are your starting and D Alford. Those are your starting corners. They're like you said, right behind them right now. You got Kobe Bryant. You got Clark Phillips, Natron Brooks, C.J. Henderson. So it's good. Like you said, it's like you said. I don't have really a full definitive answer on that until the 53 man the 53 is set. But I don't see a situation where a Natron Brooks doesn't make the 53 man roster just for the simple fact that yes, like I said, he had a couple bad plays this last previous game, but as far as big plays for the team in the preseason, he's made the most of them. See, we have to look at see when it comes to that situation, we have to look at Jeff Olbrich and what his mindset for this team is. Yeah, Matt, what's going on? Strapped up 24. What's happening? Mad Mike, of course your ass is in here. What's going on, brother? Um, but like you said, as far as the secondary position, you've pretty much already got that set up. AJ, like I said, AJ Terrell, D. Alford, Mike Hughes, Jesse Bates. The only thing is that second safety spot, which I think most likely is going to be Jordan Fuller as a starter because he is a Raheem Morris guy. I kind of see him as being the second safety spot. But when you start looking at behind them, like you said, you got Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman. Like you said, like you said, we don't know the fate of Kobe Bryant. He can't stay healthy. He hasn't been healthy this preseason. Clark Phillips ain't been healthy this preseason like that. The only ones that you really know of that's been healthy that's played is probably Mike Ford, and he's a special teams guy in himself. Um, Strapped up here, say I think Clark Phillips is gone. He's been injured, and sometime now your best availability is availability. And Clark Phillips to me is a guy that I do like. that I really do like. But like you said, the question that you have to ask is, outside of that pick six he had against the Carolina Panthers when the game was already won, is there any memorable plays that you remember that he made in 2024? Because you got to think about it. You got to think about this now. Jeff Ober gonna be wanting the guys that he want for his defense. Clark Phillips is not a Jeff Ober. He like I said, he has no familiarity with Clark Phillips, and Jeff Ober don't really have too much familiarity. And with being hurt at that point in time in the preseason is actually a detriment to him. Troy not being placed on IR indicate that he's ready for week one. E Max said I would trade Troy Anderson. Troy Anderson to me, that's really a tough spot right there because Troy Anderson has a skill set for this team that's very valuable, in which he may not necessarily be the most polished linebacker, but he's one of the best athletes on this roster. He's a special teams demon. Auntie Pam, what's going on, Mama? How you doing this evening? I don't see Troy Anderson not being on this roster, like I said, just for the simple fact that he is a special team. He's one of the better special teams playmakers for the Falcons the last couple of years. So I don't really see that as him not necessarily not being on the team. Like I said, I could be wrong. Anything can happen here. But if you look at a lot of like the major special, like I said, him and Cordero Hodge are two of the more the best playmakers on special teams we have. Juan, what's going on? So I don't really see Troy Anderson as being a guy that's gone. But like I said, this year is one of the toughest years for the Falcons to be making these cuts because you have a lot of athletes on all three levels. You have a head coach whose main thing is defensive backs, and you got Jared Gray, you got a lot of these defensive backs. But then you also have to think about it, they also have a lot of these special athlete linebackers who are multi-purpose players that they brought in too, which is a Jeff Ulbrich speciality. They said, let's say, Keyshawn Vladimir said, I don't know if Jack Nelson is making it. He might be a special practice squad player. I could deal with that. I could deal with that. I could deal with that. Because you still, like you said, the thing is when you have a Michael Penix Jr. who is going to be going into this season as a full first time starter. Now the news going around is they probably are expecting Elijah Wilkinson to be the starting right tackle. You might, like I said, in that case, you might want to have more of an experienced player there. Like I said, we don't really know how Wilkinson fares up as a right tackle because he's another one of those glue guys that you just plug him. He's not great at one spot, but he's available at multitude of spots. Yeah, Morgan Fox got cut already. Morgan Fox didn't really impress nobody. We kind of, like you said, that was, to me, honestly, that was kind of to be expected. Just for the simple fact that I forgot that motherfucker was even on the damn team. Let's see if we can get a couple more questions in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and get up on out of here, y'all. Um, excuse me. So most of the names that we know that just recently got cut, like you said, Morgan Fox, Lamar Jackson, some other guys that we didn't really see too much of. I wouldn't, JDS. I kind of disagree with you. Is that Morgan Fox was a miss on Terry's part? I would necessarily wouldn't say it was a miss on his part. Yeah, it was a guaranteed contract, but it was a 1 year deal. And a lot of times with that like that really don't cost too much on the cap side of things. Like I said, it was just like I said, the contract was mostly just based on experience in the league. And like I said before, I forgot Morgan Fox was even on the damn team. But like you said, when you got guys like a Brandon Dorless, when you got Zach Harrison, who they're experimenting at defensive tackle, when you got Ruka Roro, when you got Catavia Street, when you got Taquan Graham, when like I said, when you got a multitude of these guys who you could plug in at defensive tackle, like I said, you have to stand out some way, somehow. And unfortunately, with Morgan Fox, he didn't stand out at all. So you gotta remember, Morgan Fox was a he was he was a backup player in L.A. So that's why I say that it's not necessarily missed. You paid a 1 year guaranteed deal to a backup guy that didn't pan out. Shit happens. But the main thing is this, like you said, this is why you got a Ruka Roro. This is why you got a Brandon Douglas. Like I said, this is why you to move Zach Harrison to defensive tackle. This is why you got Catavia Street. This is why you have a multitude of these guys. Hey, I would rather, like I said, I say it like this. I would rather him cut a veteran that didn't show shit than cut a young guy who hasn't got an opportunity to prove themselves. Because that's basically the same thing. But only reason I wanted to do this right quick too is I want to kind of let y'all know. Like you said, if you didn't catch the regulators earlier, like I said, definitely go ahead and check them out over there at Atlanta Falcon Nation. They gave a good breakdown on projected players that may make the 53. Um, like I said, make sure you check out the Scottish Falcons, aka Will the Thrill and Dez, the fellas over there. Make sure you check out the originators tomorrow because we're actually going to be continuing this conversation, but we're going to definitely have a special guest for the originators. Like you said, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned for that. We got Ballers Meg. She's a she's a U she's a UK Falcon fan in herself too. So hey, y'all make sure y'all tune in for that. Um, let's see. It said besides Divine and Floyd, he was the other free agent signed. Like I said, Morgan Fox. Like I said, him getting cut ain't a detriment to this damn team for the simple fact that they already had a lot of depth at that position already. He was the veteran that didn't pay. He was the veteran that didn't stand out. And what it's not a big deal. It's something that didn't hurt this team at all. Like I said before, most people forgot that this motherfucker was even on the team. He said, Keyshawn, the heavy hitters are back there. Yes, we're gonna. Oh yes, yes. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk with you. Cause I think the final 53 is going to be determined on Tuesday. So the heavy hitters will be back on Wednesday at 9:05 p.m. The heavy hitters will be back. And we gonna kick this thing off the right way. Get our thoughts on the final 53. And like you said with Pam, we got like you said, bro, it's football season, bro. We got originators Monday. We got the Lady Birds on Tuesday. We got the Lockness podcast on Tuesday. There's everything Atlanta Sports Wednesday, heavy hitters. You got the 6-man convo. Like I said, you got Wicked T. Look, like you said, you got OG Sam, who got Wicked T Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we got the ATL Sports End game as well. So, like you said, Atlanta Falcons season is upon us. We about to piss it. We about to piss this space off because y'all ain't gonna be able to not see any one of us. You some bitches. Oh yeah. And Lady Birds will be having the burner. The burner will be on site. For those that are slow and don't know who the burner is, we got Michael Turner is going to be on with the Lady Birds. We'll have an interview right there. Um, Smooth C, what's going on, man? I just about to get up on out of here. I just wanted to go ahead and just throw that in here right quick. Definitely appreciate y'all. Like you said, man, 6MK versus Kev. This actually has been a good experiment for myself, as well as give y'all the opportunity to get my thoughts on these Falcon subjects that some of y'all may say that I have no say in what I think. And I want to give a shout out to the top fans of the shows before I get out of here. So the top 3 today was Georgia Texas boy, Keyshawn Vlad, and Jay Diaz. So, hey, they say just be on the lookout. We're gonna be, like I said, I'm going to be doing more of these. So just be on the lookout. Make sure you hit the notifications. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hey man, we shoot. The Atlanta Falcons season is upon us, man. So y'all like I said, we about to really piss this Falcon space off right here. So till next time, people. Here to play, here to stay. Ain't gotta go home. But make sure you live your good days, man. We out here.